children, welcome back to your next English class. How are you all? I hope all of you are fine. And today here I came with the next chapter, means chapter number 5. This is the first section and the story is Henry, okay, and it is written by Ruskin Bond. And Henry, you can understand that this is a name, okay, and now you have to find out inside the story who is Henry. Definitely I hope you think about this question. So before starting, see the picture. There you can understand there is a boy and there is an animal. This is a small, I think you can understand this is what kind of reptiles. This is chameleon, and now I think you have understood who is Henry. Henry is this is a pet of this boy, okay. So Henry, it's this animal's name is Henry, means this reptile's name is Henry, this chameleon's name is Henry, okay. So I want to start this story. Before starting, see, in this story by Ruskin Bond, I hope you know about Ruskin Bond, right? Before it also you have read so many stories written by Ruskin Bond, right? Ruskin Bond, he was an Indian author of British descent, right? So I hope you remember, right? And he was born in 19th May 1934, and he lives with his adopted family in Landour, okay, Missouri, okay, and Missouri is in India, you know very well. So I want to tell just a little bit about Ruskin Bond, just a little bit, okay. So again I'm telling, he was an author and as he was a poet also, okay. The Indian Council for Child Education has recognized his role in the growth of children's literature in India. Okay, he was awarded the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1992 for Our Trees Still Grow in Dera, and his Nobel in English. Okay, this is a Nobel in English, and he was awarded the Padma Shri also in 1999, and the Padma Bhushan also in 2014. Okay, so it was about little bit about the Ruskin Bond, the writer. Now I want to describe and then I want to introduce a boy introduces his unusual pet. Here we will get a story about a pet and about the boy also. The boy introduces his pet. Pet is chameleon. Okay. Now read on to find out more. Okay. Let's see the paragraphs. What are there? This is the story of Henry, our pet chameleon. Chameleons are in a class by themselves and are no ordinary reptiles. Okay, they are easily distinguished from their nearest relatives, the lizards. I hope you know chameleons. They are looking like just like lizard birds, but they're a little bit differentiate between lizard and chameleon, right? This is the story of Henry. Henry is the name of the chameleon, and chameleons, these are of course these are the reptiles, but these are in a class by themselves and are not no ordinary reptiles. Okay, see, a chameleon's tongue is as long as its body. See, its body is long, his tongue is similar long, just like the body of it. Okay. Its limbs are long and slender, and its fingers and toes resembles a parrot's claws. Okay, on its head may be any of several ornaments. Ornaments, you know, ornaments. It is written also here. Unique features such as those and those on the body of a rooster. Okay. So on its head may be any of several ornaments. Henry and rigid crest. Crest means it is written of a chameleon, the pointed top part of the head. Okay, see his head, it is a pointed, you can see. Okay, Henry had a rigid crest that looked like a fireman's helmet. I hope you remember what is the look of fireman. You know the fireman uses a helmet, right? See, this crest is looking just like that. Okay. Next paragraph. Henry's eyes were his most remarkable feature. See his eyes. They were not beautiful, but his left eye was quite independent of his right. Okay, they were not beautiful. Their eyes are not beautiful, but his left eye was quite independent. Means it is not dependent to any other of his right. Okay, so he could move one eye without disturbing the other. You can understand, he could move his eye, one eye, without disturbing any other eye. Each eyeball bulging out of his head. Look at the eyeball. Okay, bulging out means it is looking like bulging out of his head. Oodled, side to side, obled side to side, backward and forward, obled side to side, backward and forward. This frenzied movement gave Henry a horrible squint. Squint means a condition of the eye muscles that causes each eye to look a different direction. And one look into Henry's frightful gaze means a look, right? One look into Henry's frightful means fearful. Frightful gaze was often enough to scare people into believing that chameleons are dangerous and poisonous reptiles. As they are looking, if you see a chameleon, definitely you will think that it is dangerous and it is poisonous. Okay. One day, what happened? One day, grandfather was visiting a friend. When he came upon a noisy scene at the garden gate, men were shouting. One day, what happened? Grandfather was visiting a friend, and when he came upon a noisy scene at the garden gate, what happened on that moment? Men were shouting. All the men were shouting, hurling stones and brandishing sticks. Brandishing means waving something around, usually a weapon. Okay. The cause of the uproar, why this shouting was, why this kind of situation, the reason is, the cause of the uproar was a chameleon that had been discovered sunning itself on a shrub. Okay. The reason was what? A chameleon that had been discovered. Suddenly a chameleon had been discovered sunning itself on a shrub. Someone claimed that a chameleon could poison people 20 feet away. Suddenly someone told chameleon could poison people 20 feet away simply by spitting at them. Spit means you know, right? So the residents of the area had risen up in arms. Risen up in arms means protested. Okay. The residents of that area, they had protested. Grandfather was just in time to save the chameleon from certain death. He brought the little reptile home. Grandfather did what he did. He just took that reptile and he just took that reptile to his home. Okay. Otherwise, he couldn't stop them. Okay, and he couldn't save the chameleon. Okay, from that certain death. Okay. So what is the next? That chameleon was Henry. Okay, so who is Henry and how Henry came there? I hope now you have understood. And that was how he came to live with us. When I first visited Henry, he would treat me with great caution. Okay, I means the writer here, you can understand. I means the writer here. So, when I first visited Henry, he would treat me with great caution. Sitting perfectly still on his perch with his back to me, the eye nearer to me would move around like the beam of a searchlight until it had me well in focus. Searchlight, you know. The eye nearer to me when just he came nearer, he came close to the chameleon. Chameleon's eye would move around like the beam of a searchlight until it had me well in focus. Then it would stop and the other eye would begin an independent survey of its own. Definitely you understand. For a long time, Henry trusted no one. He couldn't trust anyone as he was just fearful about the people, right? And responded to my friend least gestures with grave suspicion. Okay? Then, tiring of his very attitude. Very means it is written here, see. Cautious, right? Cautious. So, what happened? When he saw Henry, what kind of behave it was doing, he couldn't trust anyone, right? And responded to my friendless gestures with grave suspicion, right? Then, tiring of his very attitude, his cautious attitude, I would tickle him gently in the ribs with my finger, right? So after that, what happened? This always threw him into a great rage. When he put his finger, when he just he was just tickling him gently in the ribs with his finger. This always threw him into a great rage. He would blow himself up to an enormous size as his lungs filled up with air. What happened after that? He would blow himself up to enormous size, enormous big, okay, as his lungs filled up with air, while his color changed from green to red. Okay, then he saw that his body's color was changing. It was first green, then red. He would sit up on his hind legs, swaying from side to side, hoping to overawe me. Overawe means it is written here, impress someone so much that they feel nervous or frightened. Okay. Then, opening his mouth very wide, he would let out an angry hiss. Okay. But his threatening display went no further. He did not bite. He did not bite. But his look, his mouth, his face, his body language, it is all the things are looking like dangerous. Okay, and people thought that this is a very poisonous thing. So, go to the next paragraph. Henry was a harmless fellow. If I put my finger in his mouth, even during his wildest moments also, he would simply wait for me to take it out again. Means it doesn't give any harm to any people, at least to the writer also. I suppose he could bite. His rigid jaws carried a number of finely pointed teeth. Okay, so that means there are plenty of numbers of teeth. But Henry seemed convinced that his teeth were there for the sole purpose of chewing food, not fingers. I hope you have understood what is there. Means writer is telling Henry is a very harmless fellow, first of all. If you see his face, if you see his teeth, you definitely think that Henry may bite your finger, but definitely not. Henry was not that kind of animal. He was just friendly. His teeth were for only chewing foods, no for fingers, right? Then go to the next paragraph. Henry was sometimes willing to take food from my hands. This he did very swiftly. His tongue performed like a boomerang. Boomerang means it is written here, a slightly curved piece of wood which comes back to the person who throws it. Okay, but sometimes Henry liked to take food from writer's hand This he did very swiftly. His tongue performed like a boomerang and always came back to him with the food, usually an insect attached to it. Okay, next. Although Henry didn't cause any trouble in our house, he did create somewhat of a riot. Riot means here noisy confusion. Okay, here it is noisy confusion. He did create somewhat of a riot in the nursery school. Down the road, it started out quite innocently. When the papayas in our orchard were ripe, grandfather sent a basket full to her friend Mrs. Ghosh, who was the principal of the nursery school. Okay, now you are getting another character. There are so many characters. One important character, that is Henry, another character, that is a writer who is telling the story, and another a very beautiful character you got, the principal of the nursery school. Who is that? Mrs. Ghosh. Okay, when the papayas in our orchard were ripe, papaya, you know, this is one kind of fruit, and grandmother sent a basket full to her friend. Her grandmother's friend is Mrs. Ghosh. She is a principal of the nursery school. So she sent a basket full of papayas to Mrs. Ghosh. Okay. While the basket sat waiting, Henry went searching for beetles and slipped in among the papayas. Okay, so when the basket was just sat, it was just all the waiting. Okay, basket was sat waiting. What did Henry went searching for beetles and slipped in among the papayas unnoticed. The gardener dutifully carried the basket to the school and left it in Mrs. Ghosh's office. Okay, unnoticed. He just slipped inside the basket among the papayas. No one could look. Okay, what happened after that? The gardener didn't know. Gardener dutifully carried the basket to the school and left it in the Mrs. Ghosh's office. Okay. Now definitely you think that what happened after that? Go to the next page. It's a very interesting story. See, when Mrs. Ghosh returned after making her rounds, she began examining and admiring the papayas. When he came there, when he just returned, she just thought that let's begin examine and admire the papayas, and out popped Henry. But after that, what happened? Mrs. Ghosh screamed. She was shouting. Henry squinted up at her, both eyes revolving furiously. See, Henry. In the basket of the papayas, Henry was there. When Mrs. Ghosh saw him, Mrs. Ghosh was screaming, shouting, and Henry squinted up at her, both eyes revolving furiously. You know his Henry's eye structure. Mrs. Ghosh screamed again. Henry's color changed from green to yellow and to red. Okay, his body's color was repeatedly changing. His mouth opened as though he too would like to scream. An assistant teacher rushed in. Another character. Okay, when the other teachers listened Mrs. Ghosh's her sound, an assistant teacher rushed inside, took one look at the chameleon, and joined in the shrieking. And she also started shouting. Henry was terrified. Henry was terrifying. He fled from the office, running down the corridor and into the classrooms. What happened after that? They climbed up on a desk while children ran in all directions. All the children were also shouting to see Henry. Okay. And some to get away from Henry and some to catch him. I think you understand. You can understand. The children are very funny. When suppose you think about yourself, when you will see that one chameleon is inside your classroom, what you would do? Some of you will be feared. Some of you will be feared and just go away from that place. But some of the naughty students, there are so many are naughty students just like you also, they want to catch him, right? So similarly, same thing was happening inside the classroom. Henry finally made his exit through a window and disappeared in the garden. But Henry, what happened after that? Henry just tried and he just exited, he just made him exit through the window and disappeared in the garden. What happened to the next see? Grandmother heard about the incident from Mrs. Ghosh but didn't mention that the chameleon was ours. But grandmother didn't tell that the chameleon was their pet. It might have spoiled their friendship. Okay, she thought that maybe their friendship will be spoiled. Grandfather and I didn't think Henry would find his way back to us because the school was 3 blocks away. Grandfather and the writer, they couldn't think that, they always thought that maybe Henry can't back come because the school is far away, that is 3 blocks away. But a few days later, after some days later, I found him sunning himself on the garden wall. He means here Henry. Although he looked none the worse. He looked none the worse. See, looked none the worse means seemed fine. It is one idiom. Okay, looked none the worse means seemed fine. And although he was looking fine for his adventure, he never went abroad again. Abroad means, you know, definitely it is written here, out of the garden. Abroad means here it is out of the garden. Okay, he never went abroad again. He never go abroad, just means out of the garden. Henry spent the rest of his days in the garden, where he kept the insect population well within bounds. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed this story. This is a very lovely story about the Henry. So there are so many characters. I hope you have understood. Still, you have any problem, you can ask me in comment box or you can ask me in next Zoom class. Okay, thank you so much. Till then, bye bye, and I will come back with a question answer part on my next day. Okay, thank you so much. Bye bye.